Greetings, all my people out there in internet land. This is William Honeyblue Jr., the privileged host of the BlackUSA.news morning show. And today we're going to tell you a little bit about the law. I'm going to introduce you to a wonderful organization, Justice Connection, and their CEO and founder, Kisha A. Brown Esquire. And she's going to talk to us a little bit about the intersection of small business and the law. Hey, Kisha,
Hello.
how you doing?
Well, thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to get started.
Oh, absolutely. I am grateful for you to be here because the legal aspect of business is one of the places in my practice and my business consulting practice, that is, I've seen a lot of businesses go wrong. Something will be happening, they'll be on a good roll, they'll keep things going, and then they'll have this kind of liability. And now all of a sudden, everything is in disarray. So we're going to talk about that in a little while, because I want to make sure people understand why we're here and why we're talking about this, because it's a really big deal, and especially for businesses in the Black community. We don't have a lot of opportunities to get multiple chances to try and get it right. We don't have the benefit of trial and error. But before we jump into that, tell us a little bit about Justice Connection and how it came about.
Yeah, so I'm a lawyer by trade, and I feel like from the minute I started law school, people would ask me for legal referrals. Hey, Kisha, do you know somebody who does family law, or do you know somebody who does criminal or taxes? And I realized that we as Black lawyers didn't have a concerted network that connected us to our own community. So folks see, the 1-800-lawyer and the billboards and the commercials by folks, they act as lawyer referral services. They're just connecting you to their good old boy network. And I wanted to create a bigger, better, more technology savvy network for Black lawyers and for the Black community to be able to be educated and empowered in the law.
Oh man, it's like you running for office or something. Like that was like a stump speech. I was like, yes. Where do I vote?
hey, vote for Justice Connection.
Absolutely. And you're right. A lot of people have no idea where lawyers are, how to find one, what that relationship should look like, and some of that leads to some misinformation and some unreasonable expectations. When people come to lawyers, especially for small business. So let's take a look at this from a perspective of how can a lawyer help small businesses? In your experience, how lawyers been helpful to small businesses?
Yeah, I mean, you're talking about almost from the rooter to the tutor, right? Because essentially you want to have a lawyer who is your confidant, right? Who is your consigliere, as they would say in The Godfather, right? That person that you can go to for advice, even when you don't necessarily know if something's wrong or if something is, it's not like waiting to be sued, but it's having someone who understands the landscape of the law and business operates in that landscape. Whether you recognize it or not, right? There are laws that are on the books that dictate, when you file your taxes or how you file and the process and where you incorporate and what's the best structure and making sure that your contracts are legitimate and that you're covered, right? Because oftentimes businesses, the first part about a business is you are interacting with someone else. You have something, a service or product that you want somebody else to buy. That's your business. And so you need to have someone else, a third party, someone who's not your cousin TT, right? Who's really smart, but someone who's trained to be able to look at these contracts, to be able to look at your operating documents and give you some solid feedback, right? And so oftentimes, it's not necessarily, I always advise folks that you want to have like a lawyer in that inner circle, right? You want the people who you kind of go to in the process of being an entrepreneur and fighting against the grain. You want a lawyer in your inner circle that you can turn to when you have questions, and you know then that the answer you're getting back is legitimate, right? It's based on the law, that it is tried and true as a result of A lawyer is going to take not just the law, but their experience along the way in analyzing the law to make sure that you're covered.
Oh, that's awesome. So getting a lawyer to be part of your inner circle is really easy and really cool when you have been a white collar worker or in the professions where you come into contact with lawyers, or you happen to have a network where lawyers are part of those organizations or what have you. But for a lot of people, they don't, the lawyers they know are the 1-800 lawyers. It's, if you have a phone, you have a lawyer, because that is the extent of their engagement. And so let's talk about how Justice Connection specifically, what does that process look like if I'm coming to you like, hey, I was watching the BlackUSA.news morning show, and I heard that I need to develop a relationship with a lawyer. And I heard about Justice Connection. So I'm here to develop a relationship. So I'm assuming it's a little bit more complicated than that.
No, and that's the thing. And the point that you made around, if you're a white collar worker, you have just this afternoon, a cousin of mine who is a coach to executives reached out to me needing a lawyer. Right? Mm-hmm. Everyone. And I believe anecdotally that Black people, no matter what our personal net worth income is, we have less access to legal resources than our white counterpart. Right. So I'm not saying we don't know lawyers, but if you are a multimillionaire, you might know 3 Black lawyers as a Black person, or 3 lawyers as a Black person, and your white counterpart might know 15.
Absolutely.
Right. So this is about us. It's great to know that lawyer who sits in the third pew in church, right? And go up to them and say, what do you think about this? Right. At the end of the day, that person is not your lawyer. And most lawyers will make it very clear when having casual conversation, right, that this is not attorney-client privilege. Right. But this connection is an opportunity for people at all walks of life, right, to be able to come and seek out legal counsel. And so sometimes, quite frankly, you might find that legal counsel is outside of your economic purview, right? Your financial purview, and you might say, I can't afford it. I get that, right? I used to work at the Legal Aid Bureau at the beginning of my career, very important resource. And so if your income falls in a certain threshold poverty level, then you're entitled to a lawyer. Well, let me take that back. You're entitled to a lawyer for certain criminal aspects, not the civil world, which is basically everything non-criminal. Right. But there are free and low cost resources for lawyers. But the beauty is that lawyers, Black lawyers and lawyers in general, we come in all price points, right? So Black lawyers charge anywhere from $200 to $800 an hour, right? If you're doing a contingency case, that means that that lawyer doesn't get paid until you get paid, right? Your settlement goes through. Some lawyers charge, upfront, other lawyers charge in payment plans. So it really depends on your situation. It depends on the lawyer, and it depends on your relationship, right? And so this is an opportunity, connecting with the Lawyer at Justice Connection, to start building a relationship. And so one of the first things you do when you come on the site, you can check it out and fiddle around and
click the button, click the links, and so I gotta jump in here. So I went and clicked the links. Okay, I went and clicked the links. Her team is amazing. Like the featured members and the lawyers that she has put together, just their profiles, the professionalism, and the fact that it's not a homogeneous group. There is a lot of diversity in the Blackness. So just want a big shout out to you all on that. That's pretty cool.
Yes, no, you interject whenever, because I like what you have to say. So you come on the site, right? And we want folks to be able to tell us what your issue is, right? And it matters where you live, as far as like which county or state, obviously, because we want to make sure that we're connecting you with folks who are properly barred, they're properly licensed in the state. And so we do that vetting for you, so you don't have to do that yourself. And I always encourage people, William, to check out at least 3 attorneys. You don't have to marry the first one you talk to. It's really about you seeing who you're a good fit with, right? And being able to understand what it is you're getting. from this relationship, because there's no business growth without investing in yourself.
Right.
You cannot grow a business without investing in your business. So if you expect to get free legal advice for your business for the entire lifespan of your business, you're in trouble. Just like if you were creating your products and you felt like you could get all of the supplies for your candle business for free. Right. Or if you were a dentist and you said, "Oh, I don't need to buy any equipment. I'll just get it all." Right. It's not
reasonable, and it's not sustainable.
And it's not sustainable. And so I want folks to really begin to think of lawyers as that person who you want to be in that circle, and you figure it out. We figure out how we're going to, afford the shrimp when we go out to dinner. So I want us to also prioritize how we're going to afford a lawyer. And it's not always like I'm going to put $10,000 on and he's
right.
Sometimes it's like, you know what? I'm going to pay for a consultation because I want to really be able to get some legal analytical feedback. I want to take my time. Let me tell you, you call a lawyer in the Justice Connection Network, no one is going to say, "Hey, we're not going to talk with you until you pay us."
Right.
They don't even know your issue yet.
Right.
First, they want to hear a little bit about you. What about your needs, to make sure that they, quite frankly, also are the right person for you.
That makes perfect sense. And I like that kind of onboarding process where you figure out what the fit is. Because to your point, a lot of people, because they don't understand what lawyers do, they get caught up in the jargon when they're interviewing a lawyer, and it's like, "Oh, this person said stuff," and they said magic words like ipso facto deleterium, and res ipsa liquider, and all these things. And riparian. He told me I even had some riparian rights. I didn't even know I was a riparian. So hey, and you get caught up in the shiny, and because the law, the way that it is structured, is designed to be as intimidating as possible. Let's just be clear about it. The rules are more about form and fashion than at times they are about substance. And so as we start trying to move in and start trying to figure out, okay, now we're ready to play grown-up business, because there's a stage where you're baby business. Makes sense. You're baby business. Nobody's expecting you as a baby business to come in here, here's $15,000. Let's go ahead and get me. Come on. Now, you're baby. Everybody knows you're baby business. And that's another thing too. We're going to talk a little bit about how people show up to lawyers in a little bit. But when you're a baby business, it's okay to get a different type of support. And lawyers, especially, and I know the lawyers you all have, understand that there is a continuum of. And that's why that onboarding and finding that fit becomes a really big deal. And so you have done a great job of screening through your people to make sure you have the right fit of skill and talent and demeanor on your side. So what do we as clients have to do to make sure that we show up prepared? Because I know when I used to practice, people would show up and all of a sudden it's like, "Hello, my name is William Honolulu, and I'm here to tell you my legal problem. I believe on January 5th at approximately 7:15 a.m., the defendant in this case, my ex-boyfriend, called me and said, quote, don't do this. Like, please don't." And so I know that experience. So coming to the Justice Connection, how should I be prepared to show up?
Yeah, and most of us will recognize in the legal community that when someone comes to a lawyer, they have a challenge of some sort before them, right? That they are likely emotionally connected to. And when we're emotionally connected to issues, we don't always articulate ourselves the best, right? And sometimes it takes 15 minutes in for you to get to the root of what is actually the problem. And lawyers get that. They know that, right? But what you want to do as much as possible is really be able to identify what is your problem. Right? What is your problem? Because the fact that somebody did you wrong, right? The fact that they ain't called you back,
Mm-hmm.
The
Mm-hmm.
fact that 2 years ago when you had emailed them, it didn't go through. So that made you think that they blocked you. And that's why to,
Mm-hmm.
right? What is the issue before you that you want help with?
Mm-hmm.
Because
Okay.
the quicker you can get to that, especially when you're typing it out, quite frankly, you want to make sure that the other person knows what you're talking about as much as possible. Like you can't get it
Got
all out in that one explanation, which is why you want to try to get as close to the target as possible.
right.
But we do recommend 4 things for folks to consider before hiring a lawyer.
Mm-hmm.
Something that we have as a fancy PDF on our website, very excited, pop up. And so if you go to justiceconnection.com within like, I don't know, if you're on the site for like 30 seconds, it pops up
Yep.
and it's an opportunity to get, a free downloadable. So everything I'm about to say, you can, get it in writing that
Mm-hmm.
way. You don't have to take notes now. But a couple of things. One, is your issue old? How old is it? Because sometimes
Mm-hmm.
we hold on to stuff that goes down until somebody else might say, well, that happened to me and this is what I did.
Right.
Or we're at our wits' end
Mm-hmm.
after years and years and years. And so you want to take a note of how old is this? Because if it's 20 years old, you might have
Right.
Gone past the statute, what's known as the statute of limitations, sort of that
Mm-hmm.
time date. So if you're looking under 12 years, depending on the state, under 12 years, under 10 years, you're sometimes safe, depending on the type of issue. So you want to think about how old is this issue? And you want to think about, do I have anything that supports what the heck I'm talking about?
Right.
So have I gathered any evidence? Did I keep those text messages or those emails or those correspondences or any type of documents that I can then show the lawyer to back
Mm-hmm.
up whatever it is that that is my complaint? Third, go ahead. You were going to
Oh
say?
no, go ahead. I'm with it. I'm still listening. I'm like, whoa, I'm excited.
Third, I was going to say, is this worth your time? Right? Because a lot of time, we all sometimes, and I'm a culprit of it, by feeling like you don't have enough time in the day.
Right.
And we do, right? We do essentially have enough time in the day for what it is that needs to get done. And if it don't get done, it doesn't.
Right.
But time is money and money is time. So is this going to take you twice as long to do yourself than it will? And that's fine if that's something that you are going to do. You're going to see through, you want to do, you have the resources to do, right? All those things have to be thought about when you think about, do I want to DIY this, right? It's one thing to DIY some IKEA furniture and do it yourself. It's another to bring forth a complaint to the court, right? That may require serving other parties and filing documents in a certain manner. Getting legal support for that you may require legal support if it gets too complicated.
Right.
And then the fourth issue is sort of, how much is your issue worth, right? Like, how much is this problem worth? Because I had a friend who, several times he would say to me on the phone, I hired this woman to do this thing and she didn't do it. And I paid her in advance. She's supposed to be back. I still haven't gotten it. And he's like, I know it's not a lot of money, but shoot, I need them $600. Come on, who do I need to call? What lawyer to get my money back?
Right.
So now, yes, your $600. I'm not scoffing at that, because if somebody handed me $600,
Absolutely. Thank you very much. Please, yes. There's a couple bills I could get good with that.
That's right. I'm not turning that down at all. Okay.
Right.
So, but is it worth hiring a lawyer for? Right. $600. Most of that type of stuff is built for small claims court, right? That type of court is built for small claims. And quite frankly, in many states, small claims is under $5,000.
Yes.
Right. So $4,000, you might be like, what? I got to do this myself. The court is designed for most people in that situation to be doing it themselves, known as pro se litigants, right? To do yourself. So those are some things to just think about, right? How much is this issue worth? Is it the type of DIY that you want to do it yourself project? Is it too old, and do I have any evidence to back up what the heck I'm talking about? Now, I said much more articulately in our fancy PDF, but I wanted to
Oh
give
yeah,
you
no, it's
the
okay.
nitty gritty on some things to think about.
Absolutely, but see, this is the cool part about it. You gave them the summary, and they're like, "Huh, my appetite is wet. I shall go forth and
Hey,
download PDF,
there you
said
go.
PDF, before I come ipso facto to your offices and talk to you about the issue per se I have before me at this time, facto."
Come on with it, all of it.
So one of the things that what we talk about often, especially when it comes to small businesses, and it comes to the legal portion of it, is how do you calculate the value of risk? Because that's what a lawyer is. A lawyer is a person who helps you stay informed to make decisions to try to help mitigate risk. Ta-da! It's not that's the magic. But
I
the
love that.
problem is, if you're a new business owner, you don't even understand what the risks are. And so, how do you figure that? Like how do you figure that out? Like, how is this where we're coming back to the relationship with your lawyer?
It is. It really
Okay.
is, right? It really is because I'm not here to tell anybody on day one of your business you should go run out and get you a business lawyer.
Mm-hmm.
You might not do your business next week, right?
Right.
So there may be no need to make that investment. I
Mm-hmm.
also don't tell people, quite frankly, you don't need to run out and trademark whatever it is you're doing.
Okay.
You started 2 weeks ago. Ain't nobody trying to steal the little skill that you made up in your kitchen with your cousin, and y'all were like, "This it right here. This the logo. Everybody loves it, right?" Like
Yeah.
no one's trying to steal that. In fact, nobody knows about it besides you and your cousin.
Right.
So, sometimes we think like, and it can be very popular and showy on
Oh
Instagram, and
yes.
people got the ads going. But at the end of the day, like I get it. Like as an entrepreneur myself, in
Mm-hmm.
the beginning, money is tight. So I'm not going to tell you to go and spend all your money, right, on
Mm-hmm.
something that you might not need.
Mm-hmm.
I will say, I'm not here to tell you what you need or you don't need, right?
Right.
Because I'm not your lawyer, right? As far as legally, that's where, William, the relationship is so important because
Mm-hmm.
you're much more. The reason why you take advice from your cousin and your favorite aunt is because you
Mm-hmm.
have a relationship with them.
Right. Right.
You trust them. They know stuff about you, and
Right.
they're able to give you feedback based on the totality of what they know.
Right.
And so it's the same thing really for having a lawyer in your circle. You want to be able to have someone and have just come, hey, William, I just want to talk with you. I'm a new business owner. This is what I do. I would love to just have an initial conversation. And
Mm-hmm.
it's most lawyers are charging like 250, 300,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
50 for an initial consultation, $400 maybe tops. And I'll tell you, it's a good investment. It may
Mm-hmm.
definitely, I mean, I'm not scoffing.
Right, right. That's what
Sounds like a
for a
lot.
lot of our small business owners, that's a big number. But I
It
think
is.
it's really important to understand that this is what it's going to take.
Yeah.
And if you're not ready to budget for that number, then recognize that means that you're going to have to shift that risk someplace else. There is a level of expertise that you're going to lose if you DIY it. Now, some of you out there are amazing talents. Like one of my big shout out to Stacy Price of Aiden Marketing. She's gonna be on here later.
Okay.
Big shout out to her. I love working with Stacy because her writing is better than mine, and I'm one of the best writers I know. And her research is absolutely impeccable. But she is not everybody, and she is also not most. And so while you may hear about, oh, well, I know Stacy went ahead and she was helping on this and she did it up, you might not be Stacy. And there may be things and something I've seen before where there's a portion of the conversation that is a really big deal to the client. And they are incensed about it, having virtually no legal significance. But then they mention some other thrower. Oh, yeah. And they also did this. You're like, wait, what happened? What?
Right.
Wait, no. Let's
Right.
talk about that. Well, no, that's not the part I'm here for. No, that's the part you should be here for.
Yeah. And that's right. A lawyer can identify those things, right?
Mm-hmm.
That maybe don't necessarily see as, the actual stop sign.
Mm-hmm.
And quite frankly, even for Stacy, the Stacy example, people often don't know who other people know.
Right.
So Stacy
Right.
might say, I've never hired a lawyer. I can't afford it. I'm going to wait and so forth. But Stacy might have two cousins who are lawyers, right?
And Stacy would call me. So yeah.
Right. Right.
Right.
So there are, folks who have those informal relationships, right?
Mm-hmm.
With somebody in the legal community. And again, it's relationship, right? Stacey also knows I'm not going to be able to tap into the William legal knowledge every day.
Right. Right.
And if she wants to go on a deeper dive, she probably is going to have to pay for that.
Yeah.
And so it's I think you mentioned earlier that it really behooves our business owners to start to budget, right?
Mm-hmm.
And
yes.
That's a hard thing when you're like, well, how do you budget $700 for a whole year? Because that's what we're working on.
It's like
maybe,
yeah.
right, and maybe you say, I can't afford half of that to go to a consultation.
Mm-hmm.
But then maybe you say, if a consultation is $350, let me budget that for year 2. Because I know that's something that I need. Oh, and you can, quite frankly, let me tell you, he's a little skinny. Don't tell my lawyer. Like sending people.
We don't know what you're saying.
Yeah. But there's no harm in calling someone and saying, I'm a new business owner. I know that having a lawyer by my side is important. My vision is big. This is what I'm looking to do. Would you be interested in having an initial conversation?
Yeah.
If the lawyer says, I can give you 15-30 minutes of my time, and then after that, I need to charge you for initial consultation, you just got 15 to 30 minutes.
There you go.
Conversation with somebody who's willing to hear and give you feedback, right?
Mm-hmm.
And now you have a relationship because this person has now invested their time and money in you. Because you can literally look at that as in-kind contribution to your business.
Let's not go too far. You don't have a relationship just yet. You got the beginning of one.
Yes, that's right.
And the reason I say that because I have had conversations with small business owners, and we're talking about something. I do the whole, this is not legal advice. These are just my thoughts on random stuff. Blah blah blah. And it's like, oh yeah, and they start to. I have a lawyer. My lawyer is like, whoa. You don't have a lawyer. You have a friend. You have a friend who practices law. Those are not necessarily the same things. They could be, but that's a separate conversation.
Right.
And so one of the things that I encourage people to do all the time is to join some of these organizations that are also aligned with some of the things that you do in the community. So, for example, one of the places that I was one of the lawyers people met, and there were a bunch of us there when I was actively engaged in the Urban League and the NAACP, in my fraternity. Like all of these things are opportunities for you to get involved, and volunteer, not just like show up as like, oh, yep, I'm on a meeting. See, I showed up at the meeting. Thank you. I'm going to show up at the happy hours. Yay! Look at me. I bought a ticket. Yay! No, you have to actually, in these types of organizations, the people who develop the relationships that tend to yield the access are the ones who actually put in the time.
Yeah. Good feedback. Exactly. Definitely. Right. Because look, that's the same thing of developing those relationships.
Yeah. And relationships, unfortunately, a lot of times, especially because of many small businesses in the startup or nascent stages are so in survival mode that the concept of building becomes the stretch goal. And so, thank you. And so what ends up happening is that as they are trying to grow and trying to build, I know I try to bring people back to, you are responsible for the decisions of your business. You're not necessarily responsible for the outcomes, because there are going to be things that you have no control over. And so that is where your liability protection, those assessments, but I want to make sure that people understand you're not going to the lawyer for the answer to the question, right? I'm not going to the lawyer to say, hey, tell me how I can make my business profitable and give me the business plan and give me the contract.
Because if that was the case, there'd be a long line.
Right. But that's some of the things that people think when they come to lawyers. Like, you went to school for like 72,000 years or something like that. And you like powdered wig, something, I don't know, y'all did stuff. But you're there, so you should have the answer. You
Yeah.
should be able to keep me from going to jail. You should be able to keep my business flowing. You should be able to give me a contract that protects me from everything because you're a lawyer and you damn it cost $200 an hour. But how do you communicate with clients on the fact that those are not reasonable expectations? How do we help people level set their expectations around what that's supposed to look like?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. And I think we've set out at Justice Connection, we've set out to like work on that, right? I think it's a lot of education for our community. We don't know what we don't know about the law. And oftentimes, we reflect on the history of our interaction with the law in this country as Black people, right? And it has been full of oppression and marginalization and injustice. And so oftentimes we're reluctant to even proactively engage the system because, that's where they lock up people at.
Yep.
And so
break up families.
Part of our work that we embrace at Justice Connection is that educating and empowering the community with the law, because we believe a better informed person is more likely to proactively engage the legal system.
Look at you talk about proactivity and being engaged ahead of time, not waiting to your life fall apart to call somebody.
Come on, right? I mean, we already do that, and it makes it's our way of surviving, right? Because we got a lot to deal with. And honestly, William, I think about it motivates me to think that, with Justice Connection, Black people in particular can feel a little bit more secure when they walk outside of their door and sugar honey iced tea might hit the fan and know that they have a legal resource that has their back. Like that is beautiful, right? Because we got enough every day to deal with. And if we can just know that there are legal resources, there are people that look like us, right? Who are culturally competent, who understand who we are and where we're coming from, and who can use the law in the best manner form on our behalf.
Right.
Yeah.
I used to tell people when I would do contracts or prenuptial agreements, I would always tell them, and also when I sold insurance, I told them, I hope you feel that you got ripped off when this is all over. I hope you feel you got ripped off, because if you feel you got ripped off, that means everything has always gone the way that you thought it was going to go. I don't write contracts for everything to go the way you want it to go. I write contracts so that before money gets funny, before love gets broken, we can agree that this is how, when you say sugar honey iced tea, when that hits all the fan and then against the wall, and then you find some in the blender months later, I don't know how that got in there. That we know, like, okay, we mad, everybody is ready to rip everybody, but now we have a sheet of paper that says, now that we're here, this is what happens.
Yeah.
It will not prevent bad things from happening. And that's one of the things that I want to talk that lawyers can't help you, are not a guarantee that bad things won't happen to you, but also the law isn't designed to make people feel good. So could you talk a little bit about your experience working with customers and clients on how they, come to you and like, hey, we're going to do this fight day in court. All of my emotions are here. Make the law make me feel better. Go.
That's an interesting question. I do believe that people have the right to feel whole, right? The legal system, right? That's what justice is all about. And I want people to be able to really imagine what justice is to them. What is just, right? Just is what? What is that to you? And that is something that needs to be communicated with your lawyer.
Right.
What is it that you seek to make you whole? And for some people that may be money, for some people that may be policy changes, for some people that may mean a schedule, right? Whether it's custody or divorce or whatever have you. And so this is our opportunity. And the law comes into play when we feel like we can't handle it on our own, right?
Right.
It is out of our purview, and now there's a system that gets to play the situation out. So it is hard. I haven't practiced law in over a decade, so I definitely am glad I don't have that aspect, right? Because it
Mm-hmm,
is
mm-hmm,
hard to manage people's expectations, and
mm-hmm,
particularly, lawyers are part counselors, in the sense that they call lawyers counsel, uh,
mm-hmm.
counselor, and it's because they take on a lot of that emotional weight
Yeah.
from their clients because these are heavy situations. And so lawyers do their best to try and not necessarily give you usually a definitive solution or an
Mm-hmm.
answer, like you said, but to be able to give you options so that you can make the best informed decision for yourself and your family.
I love it. I love it. Love it. You be talking about empowerment and stuff and making us feel like all engaged and giving us agency. Oh, it's nice. I like it. I
Yes,
like it.
yes, right?
Let's see. Well, let's talk about some more practical, some of the more practical issues when we're talking about getting a lawyer or what have you.
Hmm.
What can I do as a client to help keep my legal bills down? Because if I do budget 200 an hour, I don't need. What does that like do? Is it you thinking this $200? Is it like if you want to call and you talk about me? Is that part of it? Like because that might change my budgeting. So
Right.
how do I? What do I need to do to make sure that I'm managing and budgeting my resources well?
These are all good questions. I was thinking to myself, I said, we talk about all this stuff in the pre-show. What we going to save for the real show? You're going to be like, we done figured it all out. Thank you. Already got it. I'm good.
I told you if this was going to start flowing, let's get we ain't stopping. That's the beauty of having a show. I'm like, I like where this is going. We're going to just keep talking. I'm walking through all my questions. I'll be damned.
You're like, and another thing.
Yeah, well, I got you here.
Yeah. So wait, I forgot the question.
What do I need to do to keep my legal bills down?
Oh yeah.
What do I need to do?
Yeah, I mean, one of the things that lawyers will tell their clients is be prepared, right? Come up with what you think you need. It's like when you go to the doctor's office. Sometimes we don't do it, but we should, right? There are all the things you want to talk to your doctor about: the pain in your elbow, the rash on your arm, everything. When you have that appointment, you don't know when you're gonna get the next one, and you need to lay it all out on the table, right? And it's similar with your lawyer. You want to be able to come prepared with questions. And that way, when you're in the meeting, you're not wasting time sort of like thinking about what is or trying to come up with stuff on the spot or leaving there and saying, oh, dang, I forgot to ask these two questions. Then you got to follow up with another call. So, I mean, most of the lawyers in the Justice Connection have their own firms. Right? They're not a part of what's known as like big law, although we do have some big law folks, right? And so they can be a lot more liberal, they can be a lot more flexible with their time. Their time is still money, but they're rarely going to say, I'm going to charge you $60 for every 15 minutes, right? I charge in 6-minute increments. I mean, there are firms, some of the big ones,
do that.
they charge in like 6-minute increments. And in that case, it's like, you better be a speed talker when you get on that phone and be like, da, da, da. Exactly, right? And so most lawyers, in the Justice Connection Network aren't going to do you like that. But at the same time, you do want to come prepared because all that back and forth, right? It's do you want that person to spend more time on the phone with you explaining X, Y, and Z that probably X and Y you could have just found yourself? Z you needed to ask them, X and Y you really could find yourself, or do you want them to spend their time on your case, right? On whatever your situation is, on your will or whatever it is that they're working on for you.
So one of the things that I used to recommend that people do, I called it a brain dump, because one of the things is that I I don't have a lot of patience, and then nothing but changed by that. And so with the lack of patience, I realized that most of the time they had 30 minutes to get me engaged. And if you couldn't tell me anything that we could move forward on in 30 minutes, like not even billing wise, like I'm like, oh my God, you're still using words. This is so also one of the reasons I don't practice anymore because I used to talk. So what I would tell people to do is to do what I call a brain dump. Get a sheet of paper, of audio recording, video recording, whatever it is, type and just go. Don't try to, and this is for no one but for you. And getting all of that just all out of your head. Don't put it in any order. Just and then go back and read it.
Yeah.
And then write some more stuff because it'll be like, oh, you know what? I forgot about this. And and at least read it one other time. And what I found is that it helps you coalesce everything. Like the pieces that are over here, brings them closer together. And it also helps you get all of the stuff out of your mind. So you're not trying to figure out while you're doing it, because many of the circumstances that you're going to talk to a lawyer about are traumatizing by themselves.
Yeah.
And so that conversation is one that may trigger some things in you and disconnect you. Right. And you won't be able to think clearly and communicate clearly and focus on that because you're trying to remember so much stuff. So I recommended that whole brain dumping process just to get it done and run.
Yep.
So,
no, that makes sense. And it's probably used by, many of your colleagues, right? To be able to really help someone flesh that out. That's a great tip.
Yeah, I do it a lot for the business consulting part. It works really wonderfully there, primarily because a lot of times when people come to the table with business, they're trying to come with this professional mind that they bring to the normal business or corporate engagement. And what I try to remind them, for some of them, just help them realize is that when you have a job, you sell 40 hours of your labor to receive the paycheck. They don't want less than they pay for, and you're not trying to give any more than you pay for. So there's this type of work-life balance, and that's where that comes from. But when it's just you, there is no work-life balance. It's just all your life. And the the issue is just trying to figure out what decisions you need to make to figure out what parts of your life make sense and how you want it to do, because they're your decisions. And so I found a lot of people, they're challenged because they don't even realize why they're doing the things that they're doing. It is an emotional response or a response that they've seen somebody else do. And so they're like, I need to fight too. And it's like, your circumstances are different. Well, you love this one is, my cousin in South Carolina, her son's father is doing the same thing. And I was like, where do you live? I live in Baltimore. Oh, let me, where do I start? And so there's a lot of this, but on the consulting side, when people do the brain dumps, it is very helpful because we can now really start examining, why are you doing this emotionally? Get it that sometimes it's about cash, like you need to have the money. Yeah. But other times the issue really is like, I think that once I have my business, once I get my first contract, then life will change. And it's like, oh, honey, no, that's not how any of that works at any time. Yeah, but that's the cool part. That my job is to help calibrate hope. There you go. I don't destroy it. I help calibrate it because you need some hope. But sometimes you got a little too much, and sometimes you got a little too little. And it's like, oh, I've had clients who say things like, oh, I hope I'm able to, get it at this price point, and I'm like, I haven't even done a market analysis, and I know you're like at like 80% of market value, like you're under market right now, like, and that's average, not even. So yeah, and then you have other people who are like, yeah, like one dude told me, he said he started a 501c3 and he was going to help returning citizens, and his first grant, he had his salary at $120,000 a year.
He was like, good start. What's everybody else gonna do?
Right, but his thing is like he had done his research. He had seen what some other organizations that have done similarly with their CEOs are paid, and it's like, but I was like, but you realize that they've been around for 20 years, and that there's this idea that that's just an excuse. It's like, No, and it kind of goes back to what we were talking about the contracts and
Mhm.
about that legal engagement. Because sometimes the lawyer will help you calibrate your expectations so
Mhm.
you don't walk into a room and say something stupid.
It's good to have somebody to be like your second pair of eyes, your third pair of eyes. Yeah, no, you're right.
Last thing before we call, because we were going to do this for what, 10-15 minutes, maybe get to 20, maybe get to 20, and then we see what's
Here we are.
happening.
Here we
Yeah.
are.
And honestly, I'm about to wrap this up because I realize I need to wrap this up because otherwise we're gonna be like, oh my God, it is 2 o'clock in the morning. Jesus, I have to get ready for the show. We gotta go live in like 2 hours.
Right?
Um, when I am referring people to Justice Connection, when I'm saying and I'm looking for an opportunity, and people are like, hey, I'm looking for blah blah blah. I know all customers ain't good customers. Everybody is not part of your target customer base, and I get that. Um, how would you describe the type of customers that you're looking for?
Oh, that's a really good and interesting question. I don't think I've ever gotten that one before. Um, I would say one, I say that this is for people who can't afford a lawyer.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So if you have no money and you
Mm-hmm.
cannot pay for a lawyer at all,
Mm-hmm.
then you need to go to some of the free legal resources that
Right.
are available, right? So whether it's
Mm-hmm.
going to a pro se clinic at a courthouse,
Mm-hmm.
there's the legal aid bureau, there's the public defender for criminal, and oftentimes people will say, "Oh, free lawyers suck," right? Like they're not good. They're there because they
Right.
want
That is one of the myths that's out there.
it is a myth. I started my career at the Legal Aid Bureau. It's a wonderful place that a lot of
Yes.
lawyers at all walks of life start out. And it's a place where you're able to match your passion of the law,
Mm-hmm.
your passion. For me, it was my passion with the community and passion of the law. I actually started out representing non-custodial parents. I said
Mm-hmm.
we're dead broke dads, not deadbeat, right?
Mm-hmm.
And
Oh,
so
sweet.
I forever get child support questions wherever I go. Um, but I think ideally it's essentially just one that you can pay something, right? That you
Mm-hmm.
are able to afford a lawyer. And so that really depends on the type of case it is. If it's an
Mm-hmm.
accident case, if it's a case
Mm-hmm.
that works
Mm-hmm.
off a contingency, then that doesn't matter, right?
Right.
That
Right.
means basically that you don't have to pay the lawyer up front. They get their money from your settlement or whatever it is that your winnings are, depending on
Mm-hmm.
whatever the issue is. So there are certain types of cases where you don't need money, but
Mm-hmm.
those that you do, you'll need to be able to pay for the lawyer. These lawyers, I don't bring them pro bono cases. There are other agencies and
Right.
services that do that and coordinate
Mm-hmm.
it. And most of these lawyers do pro bono cases.
Right. And
I
then,
want to
yeah.
recognize that their time and talent is valuable and
Mm-hmm.
bring them, new clients who they can help support and serve and be able to make a living, right, as well for themselves and their family. Yeah,
Makes sense. Look at this. Oh, we had a great time today. I had a
we
good
did.
time. Good time.
Great time too.
Thank you very much. Let them know how they can get in contact with you. Let them know. Let them know.
So justiceconnection.com, that's JUSTICONNECTION. Justice Connection, you can
There
see it
you go.
there. Just add the .com at the end. You can
Uh-huh.
also follow us on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, same, it's just our name, Twitter as well. Definitely you can DM any of those. I'm most reachable on LinkedIn, but if you
Okay.
need any of those platforms, we can get back to you. But submit a contact us on the website.
Mm-hmm.
I encourage you to subscribe to our newsletter on the website. We only send maybe 1 or 2 emails a month, no spam.
Mm-hmm.
But it's all about giving you relevant, timely legal information to help you along your journey. And so we want to be a resource to you. And if you're a Black lawyer, what are you waiting for? This is the home. This is the powerful tool that you've been waiting for to help market yourself and to showcase you and to support you. And so definitely feel free to reach out to me as well if you're a Black lawyer in DC, Maryland, Virginia. We plan to expand very soon. So if you're in the New York tri-state area, that's New York, New Jersey, Pennsylvania,
Mm-hmm.
Atlanta metropolitan region, the Chicago metropolitan region, South Florida, or Dallas-Fort Worth, Texas, we are coming to you this year. So definitely reach out so that we can connect and support you and your community. Uh-oh.
No, there you go. Yeah, there you go. Hiccup. I have no idea what just happened. I think I clicked the button on the wrong thing and was like, wait a minute, what happened? Okay. Well, there we go. Thank you very much. That's what I said when I was clicking the button. Thank you very much for joining me today, Kisha. You have done an amazing job as always. And I'm looking forward to hearing some of you all out there tell me about how great it was, your experience with Justice Connection. All right. I will see you later. Have a great one.
Thank you. Take care.
All right. That was awesome. We got a chance to talk to Kisha Brown of Justice Connection. And wow, that is an incredible resource for you if you are out there looking for a lawyer or you just want to start developing a relationship with a lawyer so that you can build and grow your enterprise and be all of the things that you want to be. All right. So another show comes to an end, and I am grateful for the opportunities that I have here. We will be Black next week.